Hey, what's up, internet people? It's Trixie the Golden Witch here, at Golden Witch Fire on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, and I'm here to talk about some stuff that I'm passionate about, because I got some comments from people saying that they miss when I used to make long, rambly type videos about things that I'm passionate about. Thought it might be fun to do that while I'm on my own for the day. The rest of the Yig Studio crew is on a special mission. I stayed behind because I had lots of editing to do for this next VOIDGAZERS, the Kino cut, where we're joined by amazing YouTuber, the Kino Corner. I highly recommend checking out his latest video on Solo, which I'll be linking in the description. He is one of the best analytical channels that I've discovered in recent times on YouTube, so absolutely give him a watch. I've got to go to the post office to deliver a bunch of stuff that I sold at an internet yard sale on Twitter the other day, so let's get in the car. So this is going to be a fun experiment to see if this new little tripod I've got sitting on the dash of my car will stay sitting there. It's not attached by anything. Okay, it did slide while I was making a turn, but it slid nice and slow. So as you can see behind me, I've got a whole lot of packages to ship out, a bunch of manga, DVDs, books that I sold. We were doing a yard sale to just get rid of stuff that I didn't want to bring with us on an RV, and I posted pictures of the yard sale online and immediately started getting offers to buy some of the stuff that was on display. So that was the main source of sales. There weren't as many people interested in buying stuff IRL, but there were plenty of people buying things on Twitter. I have no idea what the profit's gonna be on all this. You know, I set the prices really low. I was just trying to kind of get rid of stuff. Ultimately had to pay for packaging, and now I'm gonna have to pay for shipping. So hopefully I charged enough that I'll make money back on this venture and not have somehow spent money to have a yard sale. One of the things I've been really passionate about lately is trying to sort of discover my own self-image. For a long time, I just hated myself and did not want to be seen by anybody. And I know that seems horribly ironic as somebody who spent years making vlogs constantly every day. I fucking hated myself in those vlogs, and I really looked at it as like, this is the only way I can get things out, like get things done. I originally made these highly scripted, edited, analytical videos that were only about things that I had thought through enough that I could talk about that way. And eventually, around 2016, which is like 2.5, 3 years into my career, I started making unscripted videos because I wanted to be able to talk about subjects that maybe I didn't know how to write about, or thought about bits and pieces of the point but couldn't really connect it all until I said it out loud. And I would even say that many of the videos I did back then would have been better served by like maybe making that vlog and then watching it back and then thinking about it more and finding a better way to say it, because I spoke in very confusing ways before, and a lot of the response I would get would be questioning like bits and pieces of the video where I stumbled on what I was saying. It was really more of a lifestyle than a video content style. It wasn't so much that I was doing it for the internet as that it was the only way I could get people to talk to me. Like, I would make videos about things I'm interested in talking about so that I can have a discussion with my comment section about that, or with, you know, anybody who sees the video who might reach out to me, even if they might be a friend of mine or something. I always struggled to kind of predict who would be interested in hearing different things that I had to say, because I'm always interested in talking about stuff, and I had always been surrounded by people who weren't really interested in the things I had to talk about. And eventually that became the case even with my audience, where I started becoming passionate about things that I wanted to talk about and couldn't find people in my audience to talk about it with. The Turntable channel I ran for like 4 months and made a lot of videos for and was really passionately into, and I just could not grow it. And granted, I didn't do the best job of advertising it consistently or anything like that, but just the fact that the videos never seemed to catch on with music fans. It felt like most of my comments were people I was introducing to the subjects I was talking about for the first time, and so there wasn't really room to have those kinds of in-depth discussions like I could get on either anime videos or more general social construct type videos. Oh shit. Where's this cop? He's behind me. Fun. Even at the time, a lot of the relationship I had with my audience was contentious in those comments, because I was always upset that people seemed to be missing my point or misconstruing it. As much as I always had people who were very much on my side and appreciated what I was doing, I've always had a massive contingent of people who have not been satisfied with whatever I've been doing at the time. It's funny for me as I move forward in time and hear people tell me that they miss things I used to do, that at the time it seemed like everyone hated the fact that I was doing. Even vlogs like this, just kind of rambling about myself and my interests and whatever's going on in my life, like, this is the type of content that a lot of people were saying, you're destroying your career by doing this right now. You know, back in 2016, 2017, 2018, every time I've undergone any kind of evolution, there's been this very averse reaction that's always difficult for me to understand, because I'm coming at my career with the idea, like, I have to constantly evolve to reflect whatever is possible for me to do to sustain myself. As the environment of YouTube changes, as I change, as I age, as my interests change, like, all of those things make it so that I have to take a different approach to how I do things if I still want to do things. I can explain the logic behind why I'm making the decisions I'm making, but people can disagree with that logic or have their own ideas about, like, whether they think I am interesting after having made those decisions in the way that I had been before making them. For me, it's always just a matter of survival. It's like, do what you gotta do to keep making it make sense for yourself. It's not a situation where I can just, like, force myself to do something other people want me to do because they want me to do it. Not even because I don't want to, but because I can't. Like, literally can't. Even beyond not being able to force myself to care about something that I don't care about, I certainly can't create content that, like, wouldn't survive in the current environment. Maybe someone could have done the same idea better than I did, but the fact of the matter is I couldn't do it better, and I certainly can't do anything that I can't do. So that kind of went better and worse than expected, in that I was able to ship everything as media mail because it was all DVDs and books. I had been told that media mail was just books, so very cool. All of the shipping within the country, all told, was like $65 or something like that, which is really good. The international packages, on the other hand, were a lot heavier and more expensive than expected. One that was going to Mexico, where someone had paid $15, ended up being a $20 package. I'm fine with that, but I had to take the Canadian and German ones, and I'm just gonna have to refund those people because it was astronomically more expensive than what they had paid, so they're just gonna get refunded. Yeah, otherwise, decent post office experience. So I've been talking about my self-image before and the troubles I had with it. I want to talk more about the present and future. The fact that I'm perfectly pleasantly on camera right now without hating myself. And granted, it's not like I'm saying that I think I look incredible. I think I look so good and amazing. You know, I have lots of self-doubts about my own appearance and everything, and I'm always trying to develop more of a style, try to figure out how to present myself in the way that looks best on camera and on different types of social media and stuff. But at the same time, I'm not somebody whose, like, career is necessarily based on looking amazing. I guess it's more of a passion thing than something that I feel like I have to do to, like, discover personal style that looks cool and maybe could have influence on other people in the way that they dress. The style I used to rock of cluster punk was very much about covering up the fact that you think you don't look good. Like, oh, it doesn't matter what I look like, I'm wearing all this crazy stuff. It's very similar to Lolita fashion in that way. Your fashion is distancing itself from being you. It's just the fashion. Because of the fact that, you know, cluster punk as a style is so associated with me, having given it the name and everything, you could have looked at it as just like, oh, this is just how you dress, is you wear pajama pants and, like, band shirts or whatever. But, like, it was never a preference thing. It was always this is like a survival strategy kind of thing, you know, and more to do with being both comfortable and avoidant at the same time. Whereas the fashion I'd really like to be into, it works with your body, where the point of it is that it looks good on you, not just that you're wearing cool clothes to distract from yourself. I think this shirt looks pretty good on me. You know, it's there's nothing on it. It's just green and plain. Kind of reminds me of Linkle a little bit, since I got the blonde hair. and the green sort of tunic shirt. It's just something that goes well with the way I look already. The hardest thing for me really has just been finding people to be my sort of style guide. Most people sort of dress based on a combination of how they grow up or who they know, what area they're from, you know, like how are people dressing where I'm from. I obviously never really related to the way people dress where I'm from since I invented my own style. I have this combination of like late 80s and early 90s super vintage cool goth stuff, and then like 2000s Hot Topic goth stuff, all of which is my mom's from each of those eras that she's handed down to me. I have a lot of clothes from like Shein and that I got from friends of mine around the country. So I've got like a lot of clothes that are definitionally other people's styles that are like feeding into mine. And I really like most of the clothes that I have. But when it comes to buying new clothes of my own, I only recently have started to figure out what I'm looking for a little bit more. I went to the thrift store recently with Michelle to Plato's Closet and just picked up all kinds of interesting little things that, like, I was sorting through my closet of all the stuff I bought when I first began transitioning, and it's hilarious how much I wouldn't wear any of it. Not just because it's all way too big for me since I lost like 50 pounds in the last year, but it was very much still in the cluster punk style of like, I don't like my body, so I'm trying to wear patterns and witchy aesthetic stuff that makes me feel can pay attention to that instead of me once again. This is much closer to like the baseline of what I wear now, of like, it's literally just a plain green tunic. I'm starting from ground zero. I think a lot of people who are trans or who have had trans questioning thoughts throughout their life have spent more time learning about fashion or being around women or having feminine role models. And I was very avoidant of all that stuff because I was trying to hide in the closet. For me, as somebody who knew that I wanted to be wearing women's fashion and hanging out with girls from the time that I was like 14, everything since then has been a huge cope. Oh boy, I can't be who I want to be, so I'm going to throw myself into whatever else is possible for me. All I thought was possible for me was being an anime YouTuber who sits in my room all the time by myself, doesn't know how to communicate with people because I can't show my real emotions, and doesn't know how to dress myself. If at any point throughout all of that I had just decided, fuck it, I'm coming out of the closet, or I'm gonna do things a little bit closer to like how I really feel, I know it would have been a slippery slope. It would have just been like, dip my toes in and I'm diving, you know? That's kind of my personality. So rather than learning all this stuff and sort of seething about the fact that I can't do it, I just tried not to learn anything because it would have made me do it. So now I'm at this point of, okay, I have to learn everything from scratch. I have to learn how to talk to other girls from scratch. I have to learn how to do makeup, do fashion, everything that I should know by now as a 29-year-old woman. Whether I even really cared about these things or not, like, just through sheer osmosis, I would know more about what I'm supposed to be doing than I might. And it's not to say that all women would know more. I've met women my age who even struggle with being feminine more than I do, despite being, you know, assigned female at birth, identifying as a woman throughout their life, because they really, you know, rejected a lot of elements of femininity or couldn't relate to them. And I rejected them while being able to relate to them. That's sort of the odd spot I find myself in culturally is, yeah, I did want to be a woman. I still relate very easily to feminine things, but had such a wholesale rejection of all of it out of guilt and this weird fear that, like, you just can't say that you're a woman. Like, you can now in this current cultural climate, and I'm very happy that, you know, the world's progressed into one where I could actually embrace myself. But I didn't feel that I could do that for a long time. And it's not even that I actually couldn't. Like, I couldn't in the sense that, like, I still can't now in the sense that, oh, everybody will accept you. No, people don't accept me. I get transphobic comments constantly. You know, a large contingent of people who used to legitimately care about me, supposedly, don't, or are concerned or afraid or something that I've changed in this way. That to me is nothing but positive change. It's perplexing for me to be in that position of feeling so much better and having people be like, what's what's going on with you? Seems like you're losing your mind. Seems like you're gonna kill yourself. And I'm like, why? Like, for once, I don't feel like I'm gonna kill myself. It's a really weird position to have myself in, and I don't know how to communicate to people other than literally by saying things like this in a vlog like this. Hey, no, it's not like that. It's actually quite nice to be able to have people around who I can be myself around and talk to people through the lens of being myself in a way I haven't been able to before. And the difference is subtle in my mind. The visual difference of me being visibly a different person is certainly a bit more shocking, I guess. But it's, you know, in terms of how I feel and how I present myself and act, it is mostly a subtle change. It's not like, wow, I'm catastrophically fucking acting differently. It's the allowance that it gives me to do more things, to, you know, to expand on who I can be by having more potential possibilities open to myself, because I don't have to shy away from connecting with people, from meeting people. I definitely think I could use more feminine influence in my life, though. I have a tendency to surround myself with people who are kind of hard asses, and so even the women in my life, even the ones who, you know, maybe put a lot of effort into looking good or know how to be comfortably sociable better than I do, nonetheless are not necessarily going for the same kind of vibe that I am. I see myself as a very comfy person, a sort of motherly, soothing presence, somebody who's there to kind of talk people through whatever they're going through. I take interest in people very easily, and I always want to get to the heart of whatever's troubling them so I can try to help them. And most women are coming from a perspective of trying to be tougher so they can be more of an adult, and I also have to be tougher in certain ways, but it's hard for me to communicate my softness to people that I've just met. It's one thing on the internet where people, especially autistic fans and stuff, will get very open just because there's that artifice there of, you can't see me, you're not like talking to me personally. And you know, I've had a lot of fans who could easily pour their hearts out to me in a comment, but just would totally clam up if they met me in person. And I'm kind of the opposite, where me spilling my guts in all these vlogs and videos is because I am treating it like I'm having a conversation with somebody. Like there is someone on the other end of the line, even if they're not responding. I'm kind of trying to guess at what might be interesting to you or where the conversation should go next, you know. It's one-sided, but the conversation does continue in your mind. And I like that, again, I can pour my heart out like I'm talking to someone in real life, and then you can watch it not being someone who could do that, but, you know, summon that element of yourself to make a comment, you know, to have a response, even if it's, you know, not as face-to-face or whatever. But basically, what I want to be is as capable of speaking to anyone with the same openness that I do to the camera. It's difficult because I tend to come into, you know, a real-life conversation with a lot of presuppositions about the other person and their intent. And that's really where I think I falter the most, is that people don't know what you're about. People don't have a reason to interpret you until you start giving them something to interpret. If you walk into a room with your head held low and you feel like you look like you don't belong there, you are going to act like you feel like you don't belong there. If you can act like you belong there, you will feel like you belong there, and people will treat you like you belong there. And that's the biggest like thing for me, is that sense of, I have to feel like I'm supposed to be here. I have to feel like I am not weird for being here. And back when I was boy moding, I felt weird all the time. And a big part of it is that, yeah, I looked disheveled and unkempt and weird because of the fact that I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I just didn't want to have to deal with me, but I had to go outside. I had to, you know, if I wanted to eat the food I want to eat, I gotta go to the restaurant. If I want to get the book I want to read, I gotta go to the store to buy it. I would suddenly become aware of myself. I would suddenly realize, like, oh, I'm wearing like stained anime shirt and fucking, you know, a robe, and my beard looks like shit, and I just don't want to be here. I want to disappear, you know. And I would put my head low and not look anybody in the eyes and just make a beeline to whatever I'm going for and out. And I assumed that everyone thinks I look creepy, because I probably do. But I could have been wearing the exact same thing and just come in looking like I'm supposed to look that way and be in this place, and people will start coming up with reasons why I should be there. They might assume that I'm doing a bit or a part of a show or whatever. It's just like, when you look like you belong doing what you're doing, people assume you belong doing what you're doing. And you can use that as a fun manipulation tactic, like lots of YouTubers do in like prank videos and stuff, to just, you know, convince people of whatever reality you're presenting. But it's amazing how much easier it can be for some people to even like do that when it's for a bit, but not normally, not just like going about in everyday life. It's really what I'm trying to accomplish. It's just like always being on, always being in the moment, always being ready to be on camera. This morning, I spent the first few hours of the day just sort of like not ready to do things yet. I just sort of sat there and listened to City Morgue for a couple hours and thought about what I had to do today. I really didn't want to have to carry all that shit into the post office and make 5 trips in and out. So I was just like dreading that. And then I went and I took a shower, I shaved up, I put on some light makeup, put my hair into a style that I thought would look decent on a vlog. And as soon as I saw myself on camera, I was like, all right, I can work with this. Like, this is a human being I can be. This is someone who I don't hate, realizing that is me. I'm very glad that I've been able to come that far. And again, it's not like I think I look perfect or how I want to. I spend a lot of time watching TikTok videos and marveling at the makeup that those fucking girls do for a, 10-second video. But I have to assume that it's like, you come home from class in your e-girl room, you put on all your fucking makeup, and then you're just like that for a while. It's just like a fun way to be for however long you can, even if it takes a lot of prep. Those glorious 3 hours that you get to spend looking amazing and showing people how amazing you look must feel pretty good. Anyways, I'm in an Arby's drive-thru now. Hi, I'd like to get a classic beef and cheddar meal, a small and a Diet Coke. That's all. Believe it or not, this is only a 550 calorie Arby's meal. You know where I be, you in the club, just to party and... Yo, I left hiding in the bathroom playing when I left, and I came back to fucking Boris Drone Evil. That is a playthrough I'm okay with. I wouldn't say I'm passionate about this Arby's sandwich, but it's alright. Check this shit out, bruh. I got this Zelda jacket my mom found. I probably wore this when I was like 13, and it fits me again. Pretty choice. So, talking about stuff that I've been passionate about lately. For the last couple of years, I've been a huge fan of a group called City Morgue, a rap duo. Zillakami and Sos Mula. I first discovered them because they opened for Denzel Curry at a show that I went to in Boston, and it was really awesome, and I immediately got deep into their music because of the fact that they heavily draw from nu metal and the kind of shit that I grew up listening to, combined with hip-hop in a super fun, aggressive, over-the-top way, borrowing a lot from like the simplicity of punk music, but with the heaviness of nu metal and the sort of, I guess, laid-backness of hip-hop, where even though these are heavy, aggressive songs that you can headbang to, it's also stuff you can kind of like sit on the couch and smoke to, and it doesn't have to be like, as aggressive as it is to listen to Slipknot or something, where it's not necessarily something you just like chill out to, even though that's one of the biggest influences on Zillakami. And watching all the little documentaries that they have, there's one called The Way Out. That one really got me hugely invested in the band just because of the fact that the story behind how each of them got into music and what they're sort of bringing to the table is something that I find both interesting and relatable. It tends to be when I hang out with somebody and meet them in person for the first time, the first thing I want to show them is City Morgue, because it's like the biggest cross-section of my interests and influences, while also being like kind of the gnarliest thing that I would be likely to show somebody, you know. Their music videos tend to be pretty fucking intense, and it's funny because I remember the effect it had the first time I saw their videos, having not yet seen them live or listened to them much, just seeing like Shinner's 13 and 33rd Black Glass and being like, holy fuck, this is some of the most intense shit I've ever seen. But then you watch the interviews with them, and like, that's the point. They're like, we came from a really intense place and we're trying to show you how fucking bad it is there, you know? They're not trying to present it as cool or fun or interesting. They're trying to present it as just this horrifying, awful place that they're not like happy about having come from there. The music is not about like the celebration of escape. If anything, a lot of their music was made in an independent, underground kind of way. It's not as though they've like gone off to Hollywood and become different people or something. They continue to represent the stories of where they came from, the people that they came up around, the atmosphere of that place, and trying to, you know, draw attention to the way that a certain type of people are feeling that, you know, maybe didn't have a means of expressing it until this style of music came along that fuses, you know, the stuff that Zillakami grew up with in this interesting way, and, you know, the people he works with as well. Something I might not be quite passionate about yet, but which I've taken an interest in as of late, is TikTok, the app TikTok. The more I use it, the more it's able to push to me things that I actually want to see. It's been more and more useful and engaging as I continue to, you know, to put in with it, but I'm really fascinated by TikTok as a medium because it combines my favorite things about Snapchat with YouTube, which, when Snapchat first came out, I saw it as, this is the better way to shitpost to like a general audience of your friends. I completely missed out on Vine, so I, you know, didn't really get to see a lot of that, but the confinement to exactly 6 seconds made that have a like very distinctive culture of what kind of content could exist there. TikTok is a lot more broad. It is closer to YouTube, except in that it encourages you to take short vertical clips, and just everything about the interface of it, the way that videos are edited and made, and the way that they're pushed to you really fascinates me. It definitely expedites the ability to create content out of just being yourself and doing your life if you happen to be doing something people would want to see. Back in like 2016, 2017, when all I was really doing was like sitting around in my room, being on the internet, it was like the only way I could ever create any type of content was by like sitting down and really thinking through making a point, or, you know, trying to make some kind of vlog or written script or video or, you know, edited piece. But like in the day-to-day environment, I might come across something that I think is funny, or like a little one-off song bit or a joke or something that doesn't deserve to be turned into a full piece of content for YouTube, but still would be worth sharing. TikTok turns it into something that you can really do like as a content creator and not just for your friends. What I think TikTok serves the best is people who just naturally encounter something that might be interesting to people regularly in their day-to-day life. If you're someone who owns an interesting pet and your pet does something cute every once in a while, you can reasonably expect that people would want to see that. Would they want to like subscribe to a YouTube channel that pushes it to them? Maybe not so much. Like, the way YouTube's algorithm works is about keeping you in the habit of watching a type of video that you will click on so that you'll keep clicking on videos. TikTok is more pushing stuff based on what it thinks you'll watch, like what it thinks you're interested in, and because the clips are always short, it's never going to be afraid to take a chance. It's not going to like always show you the exact same thing because it understands that, like, playing the odds, if it throws enough shit at you, it's gonna find something else that you like. And there might only be so many things that people generally care about, but it gives the chance for us to find even more of them, I think, than ever before. Maybe it's not that different from YouTube. I just personally feel like the expedience of it, the rapidity of it, allows for stuff that, like, wouldn't survive on YouTube to make some kind of sense. And it's exciting to me to see all the different ways that people have experimented with it, and like to find myself like being entertained by styles of videos I wouldn't have conceived of the existence of until this platform. So that's always what excites me the most, is you know, seeing that the existence of a platform creates a different type of content. I want to see how that's going to evolve, how the culture will change, whether there'll be like countercultures manifesting in response to the cultures of videos that exist on TikTok. All of that would be interesting to witness. The fridge started playing me this epic drone song, so I thought I'd come give it a listen. Bag of beans. Pretty good light IPA. Doesn't really taste hoppy at all. So there's a YouTuber named Danny Mullen, who I was first introduced to through someone requesting me do a rant about one of his videos a couple years ago. My first impression of him was kind of fear. I thought that the videos, while entertaining, were so confrontational with people that it was shocking to me to see someone like willing to be that way towards people in public. But something about the way that he could always kind of get people to enjoy it, like he could sort of bully people while also bringing them to his side in this odd way, was fascinating to watch. And I hadn't really gotten any deeper into his content until my roommates moved in, and they were big fans of his for a while. And so we, you know, watched a lot of his videos, and I came to really appreciate just like the level of craft that goes into making his videos, like how much planning there is, the way that he's able to take just the chaos of creating random interactions in the street and turn that into something cohesive and even narrative sometimes in his videos. And they're hit or miss in quality because he really holds himself to this like ridiculously tight production schedule, puts too much work in for the amount of time that the turnover rate is and how small the crew is. I respect simultaneously his willingness to put so much in to his content, but also think that it's not necessarily like wise to do YouTube the way he does. He very much wants to have total control over his production, and the kinds of people who he has working with him and who he keeps around in like his inner circle tend to be people who are just obviously much dumber and weaker-willed than he is, like people who are easy to control, easy to get to do dumb shit for him in videos because they want to seem cool and they want to seem like him. They want like to project their proximity to being as smart and cool and charismatic as Danny Mullen. But like, the reason he's able to come off that way is that the image is so heavily crafted, that this is a man who spends most of his time in an editing room working on these videos and like perfecting them and trying, you know, scripting and writing all this stuff. And the time that he spends hanging out with people and drinking and being charismatic or whatever is the time that he's performing a character for the camera, really reading off of a script he's memorized to some degree. So when you see him unscripted, or you see him trying to be within that character outside the confines of his edited videos, it really feels like it's hard to get a grip on who he really is, if there is a real person beyond like the amount of work he's doing, you know? And all of this sort of came to a head and came to the surface recently in the fact that this big drama sparked up between him and another YouTuber named Brandon Buckingham. And Brandon Buckingham, who is the person that I'm really talking about, the passionate subject of today's rant, this is a guy who basically had the opportunity to work with Danny Mullen and many of the other people associated with him and similar channels and stuff like that. A guy who's really into networking and collaborating and getting himself out there and doing shit with other people. And through his experiences with Danny Mullen over the course of a year that he basically summarized in this very long, like, expose-style video about him, that led up to a confrontation where Brandon Buckingham sprays him in the face with mayonnaise in the streets, hilariously, and turns him into Danny Mayo henceforth. In this video, it just reveals a lot about the character of Danny and of Leo DeTavio, his sort of co-host. And not to say that I would just take everything Brandon says like completely at face value and just believe his interpretation. If anything, I read into both what he said and my own, you know, idea of Danny Mullen as somebody who I also do not know. I don't know him any more than the fact that I know how content creators be, and I know what it would take to make his videos. And so uniquely, I feel like I see more of him than I do of most YouTubers because of the fact that like so much of his time is going into the content. And the way it reads to me, very obviously, watching the video that Brandon made, is that when Brandon showed up in Danny's life as somebody who is as smart and as capable of doing the things he does as he is, but as capable of working with all of his, partners and peers, and a nicer, better person than Danny is, I think he just literally got afraid that this guy was like going to take his spot, going to, that like he wasn't going to be useful to him in a direct way, and that he might sabotage his machinations going forward. So he just decided he wanted this guy out. And the battle that's ensued between them, if you can call it that, has been really funny, because on Danny's end, he's just trying to make the drama go away and pretend like it doesn't matter, while not really addressing any of the problems that are causing the drama. Brandon Buckingham is like just getting way more egged on by like all the other people he works with, who now are looking at Danny Mullen like an asshole, for all of them to turn on Danny and start, making sure he can't ignore the things that they're, trying to start with him, because at this point people don't respect him as a human being, based on the attitude that he's taken in these videos. And granted, a lot of people didn't already. Like, a lot of people who are watching his videos don't think of him as like a great guy or anything. It's not exactly the character he's portraying in the videos. It's more about the fakeness of his character coming to light and making it so you can't buy into the fugazi of it anymore. You can't believe in the Danny Mullen that's on screen when you know enough about how he really is to go, oh, okay, well, this and this aspects of how he's presenting himself are fake, and those were integral to why I like him, and I can't believe in those anymore, So people who feel like that are the ones who are the most let down by, this whole turn. But what it led to for me, and I couldn't even really be mad for very long because of the fact that I got to discover Brandon Buckingham through it. And he does a lot of like thematic long-form man-on-the-street content similar to what Danny does, but there's a lot more humaneness to it, a lot more incidental nature to it, a lot more like improv. He's going out in a character to find out what he has to react to. He's not like got a preset, bunch of writing and stuff that he has to go into it with, and it just kind of feels like he's a more natural fit for what he's doing than Danny is. Danny is like trying to concoct an idea of a type of video that he can do that he knows can be successful, but it's not successful enough for him to be able to do it the way that it would be sustainable. Brandon, meanwhile, is out there trying to work with lots of different people, make connections, make friends. He's got a whole rap career, which is highly worth looking into. He makes extremely emotionally raw, honest style of music that, I haven't really heard anything like it besides stuff that me and Jess have made. Like, the level of just cutting right to the heart of his emotions is, it's heavy stuff. It can be a little bit sad to listen to, but in a cathartic way that makes you feel like you get that release out of your system. So, I really appreciate the stuff that guy does as a creator. And through this Danny Mullen drama, he also kind of introduced me to a YouTuber called Reckless Ben. And Reckless Ben is a much more like ADHD, fast-paced video editor who similarly does, like, again, conceptual man-on-the-street style videos, except that he takes you really on a journey through the creation process of the video in the video, including, like, mishaps, and just like every stage of it becomes part of the narrative in a fun and engaging way. And the closest thing I can compare it to is Casey Neistat's video editing style, especially from his earlier days when he did like faster cuts and everything. But the ideas that he goes with are just so wacky and off the wall, where it's like he's not so much concerned about having a product that he's already envisioned in mind. It's more like, where will this train of thought take me? If I start doing wacky shit here, and I just keep doing wacky shit at each stage, what kind of wacky conclusion will I reach? And the video just kind of takes you through that. So there's a lot more of the like incidental and serendipitous kind of creation in that, which I really like. I mean, and even in Danny Mullen's videos, like part of the entertainment value is that he's putting himself in these situations where he can't possibly have full control. He can't possibly know what other people are going to say that he is going to have to react to. And sometimes he does a really poor job when he gets too off script or too off expectations. And I do think a lot of his videos are also about spending time with Danny. There's kind of this feeling of I'm hanging out with Danny Mullen that pervades his content. You don't really see that in Reckless Ben or Brandon Buckingham's content because they're more concerned about the theme of what's going on, and they are like presenting it. They're not so much the star of the show. They are making the show happen. Whereas Danny is, you know, there's a huge element of ego at play, especially with him and Leo going around just being like the two like handsome, charming dudes who get themselves into situations with ladies, you know, that they like to present themselves as. I much prefer the, you know, I'll never be cool attitude of Brandon Buckingham, or just the sheer spasmodic energy of Reckless Ben. So it's been really cool discovering those channels, getting influence from them. Hopefully I conveyed some of that in this video, even if obviously this is like a long, slow, spend time with me, I am the star of this show kind of video. I made this not out of my own ego. This is a type of video I honestly was trying to escape for a long time. But I guess I've reached a place where I don't mind making this kind of thing so much again. I had a period where I really just didn't want people to be looking into my life too much because people always misinterpret and get weird ideas about me. You know, like the more I tell people, the more I let people in, the more they're going to make assumptions, the more they're going to sort of spiral their own theories. But at the same time, when I don't let people in, then they make different assumptions and different theories based on what I don't say. So ultimately, you know, I like having the chance to talk about things that I'm passionate about. And since that was what was asked of me by a person on Twitter, I also want to address something they said, because they sent me some DMs where they were saying something to the effect of people can't connect with or resonate as much with a 2-minute rap song as they could like hours of vlogs or hours of video. And then this person, they had a lot of complaints about my current output that mostly seemed to boil down to not hearing enough of my voice at length. That like their favorite videos were very long. They were just me speaking impassionedly about something for a long time. And I understand the appeal of that. That is something that I can definitely say, oh, okay, like, if you just want to hear someone being, like, really into what they're talking about for a while, I get that. I also think that most people want that to happen to be something that they already care about. You know, I cultivated an anime audience, so most of my audience, most guaranteed, would want to hear me go on a long, passionate rant about anime. I'm not going to go on a long, passionate rant about anime if I'm not passionate about any anime currently. You know, I had been talking about Attack on Titan all through Content. That was a show I got pretty passionate about and, you know, shared that passion in that series. But I really just took offense to the idea that you can't relate to a 2-minute rap song as well as hours of rambling. You, listener, person who left this comment, might not be able to, but I personally will get much, much, much more out of a 2-minute rap song than I will almost any vlogs combined, in fact. The reason I listen to music is because I feel such an intimate connection to it. You know, the Brandon Buckingham songs, for instance, like the song I'll Never Be Cool, that song is worth more to me than anything else in his catalog, and it's all great content. But like, having a song that represents a certain sentiment to the extent that you can reference that in experiencing that sentiment within your own mind is as powerful as art can be to me. And I'm not saying I have any music that's necessarily even that powerful, but all of it is very much meant to convey a certain meaning. You know, like time skips, I could not boil down to you into a vlog what that song is about or what the theme is, because every single sentence of it says something. Every sentence of the lyrics, the fact of what, you know, combination of elements creates the music. Like, if you sit and think about the music, listen to it, listen to what you are hearing, and consider what it might mean, then you will get an experience of hearing my passion you know, and being able to understand it. Maybe you won't be able to do that by listening to it one time. Maybe you won't enjoy it listening to it one time or even 10 times. But if you want to hear me be passionate about something, you can definitely get as much of that out of a 2-minute song as you can out of an endless amount of me talking. It might be a struggle for you if you aren't somebody who is familiar with like thinking about music, if it's just not something you've done before, if you haven't listened to a lot of it, if you don't know a lot about doing analysis on lyrics or anything like that. There's so much that goes on in a 2-minute song. It's so much more dense. To me, that is a more exciting experience than something like this. But now you're like, oh, I'm getting to hear you rant passionately about music. So this is probably more of what that person wanted than Time Skips was. But I'm telling you, my passion is for that. So, like, my ability to give an impassioned rant about my own content is only in that I was already passionate about the content in the first place. Alright, I think I've done enough rambling. I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget that you can find my writing on goldenwitch.substack.com. If you really like hearing me say the kinds of like deep, thoughtful, really like heady things that I used to go on about back in the day, I actually put more thought into that stuff and then put it into carefully considered words now on my blog. And for $7 a month or $70 a year, you also get access to all of the bonus articles as well as the Big Review podcast, which is also posted on my Patreon. So wherever you want to be subscribing, you can do that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, anime forever. Here's a Yig Studio bumper.
Thanks for watching another Yig Studio movie. Our crew is always on the go, so we're always leading up to some kind of event. The next place you can catch us is at the show on screen right now, so check it out if you want to see what we've got going on in person.